Meeting to order. This is the Town of Harwich Community Preservation Committee meeting, regular meeting in the Don B. Griffin Room, Harwich Town Hall, 732 Main Street at 6 p.m. Thursday, April 11th, 2024. Excuse my voice, but we'll move on. Okay, anybody, the general notification is required by the town. Anybody audio or videotaping the meeting should please inform the chair. Welcome guests. Can we get the approval of the CPC minutes for March 14th, 2024? Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the CPC minutes from March 14, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Public comment. Anybody from the public want to make a statement? Hearing none, moving on. New business status update reports. Harwich Recreation Department is up first. Eric, you have the floor.
Table or here?
Your choice.
Thank you. I'm Eric Beebe, Recreation Director. We have 5 articles here to update you on. I'll kind of just go down the list. The first 2 kind of go together. 2019 Article 43, Sand Pond Restroom Replacement, and 2023 Article 33, Sand Pond Restroom Additional Funding. This project, we had the septic design and engineering plan done, the septic installed. We tried for a stick-built restroom. We put it out to bid twice, had no bidders. Did it a third time that we just opened the other day, and the bids came in much higher than anticipated. So we're kind of back to the drawing board on that. I'm meeting with the Assistant Town Administrator next week to review our options. There's $120,000 left in that article between the 2. So we're going to try to figure out what we're going to do next. But the septic is in as of right now. Should I keep going, or?
Well, let's,
Yeah.
we got these 2, so go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, why does DPW want you to do stick-built? I'm assuming stick-built means made with wood versus a cement thing.
Yes, stick-built, it's, my understanding is it's less maintenance, it's easier for them to maintain.
Right.
There we go.
Okay.
So that was the reason for trying stick-built instead of our normal precast concrete restrooms that we do. That's the next maybe option, is looking into the precast again. Those prices are going up as well, so it'd be very tight. But I don't know if we have any other option but to put out a bid for one of those and see what we get.
What if that doesn't work out?
Well, that's what me and the Assistant Town Administrator are meeting about next week, to review options. So, that's the bad news. There's good news further down.
Yeah.
Mary?
So my question was just, how high is so high?
I think the lowest bid for the stick-built was about $160.
And you've only got about 120 left.
Yeah. And there was actually a high bid of $320,000 for a stick-built restaurant.
Fabulous. Okay.
So prices are not
Just
coming down.
curious, yeah, no.
All set, Mary?
Yeah, all set, just
Robert?
curious.
Nothing.
John?
No other questions?
Okay, go ahead.
The next one is 2022, Article number 36, which is the pickleball basketball project at Brooks Park. This is nearly complete. The last thing left to do is painting the courts and lining the courts, the new pickleball courts. They're coming in. They just had to wait for the right weather. They have to have, I believe, 3 or 4 days of 50 degrees in a row. So I contacted them this week. Looks like we're first on the list for the beginning of May, as long as the weather cooperates. That'll close out the project, and I believe the balance is around $1,900 left in that article.
Okay, questions, board? John? Robert?
No questions? No.
Kathy? Mary?
Nothing, thanks.
Go ahead, Eric.
All right, that was better news, see. 2023 Article 31, the Senior Softball Fields Restroom Project. We hired on a company that's doing the engineering and design for the septic plan. And then we're going to put out the bid for the restroom itself. There's more funding in that one. It's $150,000 here We also have 20,000 committed from the senior softball group. So the plan was to put out stick-built again, but that's going to come up in our meeting next week as well, now that we see what the prices are looking like nowadays for stick-built. So it may have to go to precast for that as well.
Okay, questions from the board? Mary?
So I just wonder if it's possible to bid them out both together and maybe save on.
That's one of the things I was going to
Yeah.
bring up, yeah, yep. Economy of scale, yep.
Exactly. Fingers
Kathy?
crossed.
Robert?
Nothing.
John? Okay, Eric, go ahead.
And the last one is 2023 Article 32, which is the Brooks Park Tennis Pickleball Court Resurfacing Project. This was completed, and it's completely done. There is a remaining balance of $35,140 in that. That's the best news. Save the best for last.
That's smart.
Did you say 3,500 or 35,000?
35,140.
So how come that was so different?
Resurfacing, that's just what the bid came in. I think it's when you're looking at, I don't know technically, but when you're looking at lumber and pipes and all that kind of stuff, rather than just resurfacing materials.
Mary?
Just wondering if we want to do a vote to rescind tonight or
I
wait.
don't think we have all his numbers yet.
Okay.
I'll send you over, like I said, I got the munis reports right before I got here, so I could send them over tomorrow. That way you guys could look at all of them.
So send them to Jan and we'll.
Sure.
Just that we'd want to do them by June. It was my only point, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
John?
No questions.
Robert?
All sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Okay, next up, the Harwich Fire Association. You guys get any sleep?
My voice is as good as your voice, so.
A lot of phone calls.
A lot of phone calls.
Yep, I got it.
Yes, please. And I didn't see that you sent it, that you emailed this over this afternoon. I didn't see that.
I did, but really late, so you have it. You just-
And I'll just,
Yep.
y'all will get it.
Gentlemen, you have the floor. Identify yourselves, please.
Joe Rigo, Harwich Fire Association.
Bruce Young, Howard Fire Association.
Committee, thank you for having us here. An update on the restoration project of the old Bank Street Fire Station. Since we last met, not much has been done. The one thing that has been done, finally, the front doors came in. The front doors were installed. Came with some hardware and was missing some hardware. We have some of the hardware coming in, and we actually are looking to get, is it Cape Cod aluminum?
Aluminum Products, Cape Cod.
Aluminum Products of Cape Cod to help modify a couple things to make more weather stripping tighter, and we're waiting to hear from them. They take some time. That's what's been done since our last meeting. Just this week, though, we did meet with a sign contractor, and he's given us some proofs. We're approving the proofs right now, and he's thinking 3 to 4 weeks to have that complete and installed in the building. The next, we'll be doing the exterior lanterns or lights. We've been reviewing different fixtures, sizes, prices, things of that sort. Now that we have like the sign size, we know the lights that will fit under it, and then the rest of the building. So we're still working on that, but that'll be our next thing. We're hoping to have that done, and, you know, we're hoping to have those approved and purchased before the fiscal year is up. The one last thing we'll have to do, it probably won't happen till the fall, is the cobblestone apron. We held off on the apron because of the parking lot construction, so we're going to work with our partners, the Conservation Trust, and we're going to have that part installed when they're doing their parking lot project, so that nothing gets damaged, ruined, or we're in each other's way. You know, working with them, discussing with them, we're hoping to have all that done by the fall. In my report, I wrote the overhead door was $73,200. We paid that. Left, we estimated $3,275 for the sign. We estimated $5,071.31 for the lantern lights, and we had an estimate of $16,620 for the cobblestones. That's what's left to be spent on the project. At the end, there'll be some little things. We're gonna do dedication signs, some touch-up paint, cleanup. Those are the things that are left to be done. And that, like I said, we're hoping to be done this fall.
Have you had any issues with invoicing?
No?
Okay. Okay. Open it up to the board. Questions? John?
No questions.
Robert?
You will be spending the full 350?
It's gonna end up being the full 350. The cobblestones, we're waiting, we have an estimate, but it's a year old. So that's the one project we really don't know
Okay.
how much it's gonna cost, if it's changed. The sign guy's been pretty good. It sounds like he's gonna come in for the same price or maybe a little less, so maybe that'll give us some help. But, yeah, it's gonna be probably the full 350.
Doors look great.
Thanks.
Building looks great.
Yeah.
Captain?
So the 350 is zeroed out in the unit report. So did you must have got the 350 as a whole.
They
We did,
transferred the
yeah.
350
So there's
as
no
well.
invoicing.
No.
No, I just,
There's no invoicing because they just have the money. They do their own thing.
okay.
Doesn't come
We've
to
I
us.
was gonna bring that up to the chair.
Yeah,
We got a check for 350,000 and
yeah, yeah.
we're
yeah,
square.
I wasn't aware of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I was there yesterday, actually, and the doors look great. Quick question, the doors, do they go up or do they open?
Open.
They
Yeah.
open
They
up.
open?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And so there seemed to be a big gap between the doors.
So that's the hardware issue that we had. Some hardware came in with the doors, and it just wasn't like a good seal. So we talked to the Aluminum Products of Cape Cod, and they said they can come up with something better to take up that gap. And then you also may notice that there's a piece of wood down the bottom. That's holding it shut right now. So once we get the seal in, then we can put the latch that holds the doors closed. But right now, it's just held with
I
wood.
will say that I was pleasantly surprised to see the entire building with new windows and the, outside siding and stuff.
Mhm.
I didn't know that that was part of your initial plan to do the back end. 'Cause
So we had
those
to,
windows and doors look great.
Yeah, at the time, we had to decide whether or not the back of the building was gonna remain or not remain, working with ACT on size of property and subdivisions. We were able to work it out and get, the piece that the building's on, and they were able to use their horseshoe piece to make the parking lot and a nice little, picnic area. So it worked out that we didn't have to get rid of the back of the building, and we spent a chunk of our money to do some of the windows, the back doors, and one side of the siding and the.
Because that wasn't a part of the original proposal, right?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
But it looks great.
Thank you.
Looks great.
How's that?
Yep.
Mary?
No questions, looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Such a
much,
nice
gentlemen,
change.
for the update.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Thanks for your support.
Steve.
Give us another 6 months.
Okay, next, Brooks Academy Museum Commission.
Not really.
Structural Improvements Project, Article 2021, Article 31.
Sean Libby, Facilities Manager for the town of Harwich, and out of Article 31 that you just commented on, the funds have been fully expended and the project is complete. Moving on to Article 27 from Annual Town Meeting 23. Following the town meeting, and if you haven't heard, it's been at a couple of selectmen meetings lately, but following that meeting, I got with the town administrator and said, no longer, should we be piecemealing this? It doesn't make fiscal sense. We're redoing a lot of work twice, and we're paying for a lot of services 2-3 times by piecemealing it, and we're not really being open and honest with all the taxpayers of the total cost of the rehab. That being said, we decided that we're going to try to combine it all and go to this town meeting for the remainder of the money, so we'd only have to do all of this once. And if you're not aware, we don't have the funds for this May town meeting. They're looking at a special town meeting if the funds are available. So right now, the project's at a standstill. We realize we have only 2 more years to spend the money.
Mary?
So my question is, what are you anticipating asking town meeting for?
I think I didn't bring that number in my head because it's not part of this, but I think it's 1,120,000, somewhere around.
So you'd need that plus the 690 that's already
Correct.
there, okay. Just checking. All right, thanks.
All set, Mary?
All set.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is the work that you're trying to tie this to?
It needs a number of things. It needs a lift to be ADA compliant. That is a large dollar item. It needs a new roof. It needs a cupolas that was not included as far as the rehab of that, and the columns out front in the front porch. That was not part of the restoration either. I think the commission had thought of piecemealing it would make it settle a lot better with the taxpayers. But by doing that, to do the lift, for example, they're gonna have to cut into the siding and the foundation that was just done.
Yeah.
And that's where it doesn't make any sense, to do things twice. We'd also have to pay for multiple architects and multiple OPMs.
Which is why I'm guessing it's a town project now and not a commission project at this
Correct.
point. Which makes more sense for a town building.
Robert?
Wasn't the lift originally planned in it? And, but how, it sounds like kind of got caught having to put it in when the plan was to stretch it out.
I thought that was in the original.
It was in the original plan piecemealed out,
Yeah,
but that piecemealing, the plan was in there. Is it still in the capital plan? It was in the capital plan a few years ago.
right.
But by taking each segment and separating them, to put in the lift, you'd be cutting the siding and cutting the foundation twice and repairing it. So I brought it up to the town administrator, said fiscally, this does not make any sense. It's gonna cost us a few $100,000 more in the long run.
Yeah. Now, the 690 we allocated for windows and siding did include both?
Yes, correct.
Is that still a good number, or is that gonna, I mean, at this point, is that gonna come in, is that too low?
My personal opinion, I feel it might be low,
Yeah.
but it's the number that we were dealt with, so I'm moving forward with that.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thanks, Robert. John?
I don't have any further questions, thank you.
Kathy?
Yeah, just so, this is going to delay the, any tenant moving back into the building.
And that's not my call.
No, I'm just saying, that's the result of this, though, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Anything else from the board? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, next. Pemrose LLC.
They are not being able to come tonight, so we're scheduling them for next month.
Okay, moving on. Howard Cemetery Department. Excuse me. Bevan,
Hello, hold on. a
please
sec.
identify yourself.
Hold on one second.
Yep,
I got a packet for you guys.
Oh.
It's the reports on the top of the button, some information just to show you how our
Thank you.
thank you.
project's working, about what we do, so that's the purpose.
Thank you.
Robin Kelly, Cemetery Administrator. So we have 3 projects. The first one was Article number 29 to 2021, which was the Veterans Memorial Circle at Evergreen. That has been completed. You guys, most of you guys went to the dedication of those. And we went a little bit over, and so we used, the electrical came in higher, so we used $8,629 out of the cemetery revolving. And so the balance was used up from the CPC article of $48,385, so that should be 0. Does anybody have any questions on that one?
All right,
Yeah.
go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, so are there lights on the flags? Are there, that show
There's
directly on?
lights that are on the American flag that go straight up to the
But
American.
not on the other ones?
No.
Okay.
We didn't want the neighbors to have too much lights in the area, so we only illuminate the American flag.
Robert?
Nothing.
John? Barry?
Nothing for me.
Moving on.
Wait, I have another question.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Beavers.
David.
Kathy, go ahead.
So, in terms, so the electrical trenching was, the trenching for the electrical.
Yep.
Was a lot of money in this particular
Yeah,
project.
so we also brought electricity to the other side of the circle, so that when we have events, there's a panel there that we can hook up intercom system to, and all of that, as well as the lighting for the circle,
Okay,
yes.
right, that's what I wanted to know. Okay.
Yeah,
All set, ma'am?
Yes.
Here?
All set.
helps with the
All right.
band and everything else that they need stuff.
Moving on.
So Article 31, Town Meeting 2022, the East Harwich Union Gravestone Conservation. This went to town meeting, I requested $118,800, but when we went out to bid, we found a couple of new vendors, and it came in a lot under, it came in at $61,890. It was paid out in 2 checks. So we had an unused balance of $56,910 that we need to turn back in. Do you need me to write a letter from the
Yes.
commission, turning that back in? Okay.
And would you CC that to the administrator and the finance director,
Yes.
please?
Yep.
Okay, any questions? Mary?
None for me.
Kathy?
Nope.
Robert?
Nope.
John?
No,
Moving on.
Okay. So then the final one is the war memorials that we're having done for the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. I've been working on them and have come up with a couple more veterans that weren't initially on the list, but I just wanted you to see, I gave you a packet. This is just one, and we have all these Eagle Scouts that want to do work and get their Eagle Scout badge. So I believe one of them's going to help me scan in all of these by name. So I'm just going to show you going through each one. So every single veteran that we have, the first thing I do is I pull the history of Harwich and find out if they're listed in the history Harwich. So this is Benjamin Ryder. I just pulled him out of the thing. So as you see, it says Benjamin Ryder, R-I-D-E-R. Then you pull the next page. It is the Soldiers and Sailors, which is the Revolutionary War by the United States. So they're done by state. And this one's Benjamin Ryder again, R-I-D-E-R. He served quite a bit. So you'll see he's on 2 pages on 307, and it goes all the way over to 308. And it lists all of his different conflicts. And then you switch to the next page, and this is when his wife filed for his pension. She wrote Ryder, R-Y-D-E-R, which is something I come across. It's on the Eldridges, Eldridge with an I, Eldridge with an E, Ryder with an Y. It's back and forth. So anyways, we go through the whole record, and it has affidavits signed by all different people. And when you get to the first one, it has Benjamin Ryder of Harwich, spelled R-Y-D-E-R, and then it's signed at the bottom there. But as you go through, some of the other people who also signed affidavits for him did R-I-D-E-R. So we're going to be publishing the list of all the names in the Chronicle, as well as probably put them up on our website. I'm going to bring a copy over to Brooks Academy. Brooks Free Library, can't bring it to Brooks Academy because it's still closed. But to see if we can get some people to come forward and help us with the choosing of. I'm going to assume if it's in, I've contacted 2 people. One of the guys that I've reached out to is from the state, and he just does older soldiers and sailors. So his name is Keith. And so he's the archivist, so he's gonna get my list as well and maybe help me vet them. Because once it's in Granite, you can't take it back. So I want to make sure that all the names are spelled correctly. That's what's taking me the longest. It's not that I don't have all the veteran stuff, it's that I have to make a decision, how am I gonna write these names out? And there's a lot of them, so.
Robin, this includes the Civil War, correct?
The Civil War as well. This is just, so I should have brought you my volumes. So I have 5 ones for the Revolutionary War that are probably this thick. So, in each of them, some of them have a lot more than this material. This is just one I thought I would bring you as an example. And then I have 3 books for the Civil War.
Was there anybody from the Confederacy
No,
in any of that?
no. No, it's only Harwich.
I
But-
understand, but
But some of them did die and are buried, you know, not in, a lot of them are buried, especially from the Civil War, they're not buried, a lot of them weren't buried here. There was a whole contingency of people that died in Spotsylvania, and they're buried there. So their bodies did not come back. There's some of the Revolutionary War soldiers that were on a ship in New York Harbor, and they died while they were imprisoned, and they were just thrown overboard. So their bodies were never buried as well. So we have a list of all of those, and I have a list of all the ones that died as POWs. If their file said that they were deceased while serving, we have another list of those. We also have broken down, we had a whole bunch of Revolutionary War soldiers that were Native Americans that lived here, and also African Americans. So we have those divided out as well in all of the conflicts. So I'm just trying to make sure that I don't miss anything. So this is only, you know, once I have the list compiled, Lynn Zelenak is working with me. We're gonna work together with the guy from the America 250. He wants to go through it with us as well. So we make sure we didn't miss anybody. I also reached out to Eastham because we have a couple names that overlap. So I want to make sure if they're gonna put them on their memorial or our memorial, I'm just gonna check with the state which one they should be on. But that's it. It's just a lot of work.
that's extraordinary. Kathy?
Okay, so how is the timing? Because I know you're.
It's coming along. I only have probably 15 more soldiers to finish these little packets with. And then we'll get the list together. Lynn's gonna help me with that as well. And then I'm gonna shoot it off to the state. They have a whole group of people that work on those committees. They'll go through them and make sure that the ones that I haven't questioned, some of them are so clear, cut and dry that there are soldiers. I'm not gonna be sending up those ones. It's just the handfuls of ones that could overlap. Those are the ones I'm gonna send them.
And there's
In the
enough-
spellings.
There's enough time for a response from the state?
Yeah, by the time we put it out to bid anyways, we'll have all of the names, and we can put it out to bid. We won't give them the final list. I mean, if it's an I or a Y, it doesn't matter. They're charging us for the letter.
Right.
So if it's an E or an I, it's still gonna be the same price. Yeah. And then we'll have it indexed and uploaded on our website. The East Harwich Union gravestones are uploaded now on the town website as well in PDF file.
Questions, John?
Okay, I have a couple questions.
Sure.
One is, I mean, you're referring to uploading these things, but you've collected a lot of information here.
I have.
And do you have plans to make this information available in some searchable way, so somebody in Toronto who knows he has
Yeah.
family from Harwich can search his family? And there's like Find a Grave, which
Right.
you must know about that website.
Yep.
Where there's a lot of information, not all of it necessarily correct, but
Correct. I correct a lot of their information.
It is tied to
Yeah.
specific gravestones. I'm just curious about that.
So we are gonna, so when we upload them, we're gonna have to load them up in smaller segments, like we would do A through whatever, and keep it, and once it's uploaded, it will be searchable, so in the format that it does. So you could just search for Allen, and you'd get all the Allen. So John Allen's file and his pension file will be in there, and you'll be able to look at that.
So is there like a webmaster merit badge for Eagle Scouts?
So we have I have 10 of them that have been contacting me to do. We have 2 Eagle Scouts doing projects currently, and we have a whole bunch of other ones that are gonna be coming up soon. So they're very enthusiastic about doing projects,
So
so.
my other question is following on David's question about Confederate soldiers. I don't know, I have no clue about whether there were any traitors in the town of Harwich during the Civil War.
I don't,
But I'm wondering
I haven't come
whether-
across any, so.
how you would, whether that's something on your radar, but going back to the Revolutionary War, I suspect that there's a higher probability that there were loyalists in town.
Right.
And,
So actually, I have a list of the Civil War soldiers who deserted, so they will not be on the memorial. And I've had people reach out to me and say, well, I know that my grandfather was in the, or whatever, my descendant was in the Civil War. I'm like, yeah, they were, but they were deserters. So the Civil War is more clear cut and dry because I have their date of muster, the day they mustered out, in all of their information. Their files are way more intact. I mean, they're easier to search than the Revolutionary War. The Revolutionary War guys were extremely hard, so the Civil War is a lot easier. And they have had people at the National Archives go through them, and they have all of, like, it says right in their file, they deserted. Like, it says, it's pretty clear cut and dry.
okay, thank you.
How's that, John? Robert?
Yeah, so you've done all this work to put this all together.
Yeah.
You put all these in your database, right?
Yeah.
They'll all be, but is there a way to link it into Ancestry or something like that, so that if someone just happened to check on Ancestry, they get all these documents?
Not yet. Maybe we could put together a book, but right now, probably not. I mean, I have them all in a Excel spreadsheet as well, that just lists them. It doesn't give all the information, but it gives their date of birth, date of death, and if I have it where they're buried. And then it'll say beside it, so I actually have that list. Beside it, it has where I found the information, the history of Harwich, page 319, page 321, 331, 34, their pension file, and then it says whether they have a DAR, SAR, and what the SAR or DAR number is. So I have this simple
Yeah.
spreadsheet that we could upload, which would be very, it's in, an Excel. You could search that any way you want.
I mean, the one that, the fold is the one that's all military, correct? Fold 3?
Yeah, full 3. So I get a lot of information from them. I get all the pension files from them. They also have uploaded a lot more information. They have a lot of their actual, when they registered and went into the military, there's a lot of those records now online. Believe it or not, Family Search has an amazing database, which is free. So I always tell people to use that one because you don't have to pay a subscription. And they have a lot of military records on there. And they have the original files, so you can upload the file and actually see the old handwritten script when they went in and all the services, so that one's.
The point I'm getting at is that if you found documents that weren't part of Fold 3, but that you found there, but you found them,
Yep.
can you upload them to Fold 3?
Well, I'm gonna be talking to that guy from the military. He's gonna call me back tomorrow, so,
It just seems that all this great effort,
yeah,
it really should be something in a national database as opposed to the Harwich database.
right.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
You can ask for a consulting fee.
So,
Have you heard of Sisters of the Confederacy?
no, but I've been dealing with the Society of the Cincinnati as well.
Okay.
And we have George Webb, who is, he's a pretty high-ranking officer. He's from Harwich, and I think he's buried at West Point, to be perfectly honest. And when he left here, he was instrumental at West Point. So he's probably one of the most, I would say, honored Harwich veterans, so. And he is a member of the Society of the Cincinnati. And I know that Duncan Berry has relatives of his that are also, because he is a chapter member, and you have to be a direct descendant to become a member of that as well. And there's other different groups that have reached out to me. I know when we have the dedication, we have a Civil War band that actually plays historical Civil War instruments that want to take part in our dedication when we dedicate the memorial. So, and we have reenactors, I know we had a great turnout for our last one, but I think this one will be way better. So I look forward to it, and as soon as I get all of those dates and update you guys with all that information, I'd love it for you guys to come. So I think it's gonna be great for the town.
Okay, moving on. Any other questions? All set?
And then I just have, the CPC article for this year's town meeting, so.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay, next, Affordable Housing Trust.
Nothing?
No.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Please identify
Larry
yourself.
Larry Ballantyne, Chair of the Affordable Housing Trust. And first, thank you for all your support for the trust. We're moving ahead. What I provided you, and Jan, I gave you the copies that you emailed me multiple times on. So, I'm set. Which details, I think answers the questions in details of the warrant articles and the status of the funds. What I'd like to do for this brief time is just summarize that, if I may, and then you can ask questions on the chart that I gave you. But and I want to thank Kathleen and Megan from the treasurer who sent me an update of that I've given you dated April 4th, so it's recent. As you can see, and I'm just going to summarize briefly, as of at date, we have $2,090,000 from CPA funds. We have $642,000 from cell tower. I have a note in the commentary I gave you that on those funds, there has been some questions raised by the town administrator and the treasurer about transfer, how those funds are transferred from the cell tower to the trust. And that was a relatively recent concern that it was brought to my attention probably 3 weeks ago. We had passed some years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago, we being the Board of Selectmen or Select Board, authorizing the transfer. And the question came up a couple weeks ago is that even though that Select Board's motion was to transfer the funds at the time and for the future, question came up, could we do that? Did that have to have another mechanism to do that automatically? And so that's the process. They're working on what that process is, and they'll bring that probably to town meeting. We have one in the fall, so that doesn't become a sticking point of getting those funds transferred to the housing trust. The investment income, we have a little more than $8,000. You have a question, David?
I'm going to lose my mind on this. Town meeting approved it. Why do we have to go back to town meeting?
The town meeting didn't approve the cell tower fund transfer. The selectmen did. I think you're talking more about the special purpose fund, which I'm going to go to next. Because that's the second one that I wanted to discuss very briefly, is that a year ago, town meeting approved the creation of a special purpose fund. They actually created two, one for wastewater and one for the housing trust. And the process then is that that allowed the money to be put into the special purpose fund. And then the town meeting has to approve again the taking of the transfer of that money from the fund to the trust. And I thought that was, we'd have that ready as an article for this town meeting. And I found out a couple weeks ago that we weren't prepared to do that. There's some questions that have been raised that they're trying to sort out of exactly what that process is. The sticking point that we need clarification is that I got a question about, do we have a specific purpose for those funds? And we don't, because by trust bylaws, those funds go into a package that we then can use for affordable housing use. We don't ask for that specifically. I'm told now that what I need to do is to bring it up to a vote of the trust, saying we're going to transfer some amount of money, say $1 million for round figures, for use by the affordable trust. It can't just be a general statement, and it can't be automatic. So it caught me a little off guard. But the good news is, it's not going anywhere. We have the money in the special purpose fund. We just need to sort out what the exact process is, and that will go over. I'm not sure I explained that clearly, but Mary?
So, are they saying that this special purpose fund has to have a dedicated purpose, like for the creation of 80%, or, you know, for a rental program, or is that what they're saying, that the special purpose fund has to have a greater definition?
That
Just
was my
curious.
reaction when I first got the email. Says, come on, you know, that's not the purpose of why the trust was. And I'm told, no, that it doesn't even have to be that specific. It just has to be an exact amount for the fund. You can't make it. My assumption was that we would, at the, say there's $1.4 million, we'd have an article in this town meeting authorizing the transfer of that $1.4 million to the trust. And they wanted some more specific language.
Gotcha.
And they're still not, I don't understand the process, but I'm trying to work with it so we get the money transferred.
It's different than an enterprise.
This doesn't make any sense.
No, it does. It's different than an enterprise fund, and it's different.
Well,
It's
it's a
different.
fiduciary, so I mean, the money's gonna go there anyway.
Yeah, but the way, so there's, DOR deals with funds differently, whether it's an enterprise fund, whether it's a special revenue fund, whether it's a receipts reserved for appropriation kind of fund. So it's got to do with however DOR is looking at it.
We're going to do it however they want us to do it.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's, you know,
Just
as I
get the
say,
money.
the good
They deal with
news,
them differently.
Yep.
It depends on what category it falls under as to how they deal with it.
you know, it was irritating to me because I thought we were all set. But that's for me, I guess, to worry about. Because I'll say it again, the money's not going anywhere. It's in the spatial purpose fund, and we'll get it out, hopefully, our next meeting.
Can I just,
Go ahead,
I'm just lost, okay. So just for clarification, this is the short-term rental tax money we're talking
is.
about?
It is,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, I didn't hear that, so, all right,
I'm sorry, yes, it's the short-term rental tax
Okay.
funds we're talking about.
okay. And you think it's how much?
The last number I have is $1.4 million in that spatial purpose fund.
But that's not
That's
just
not ours, though, I mean, it's not ours.
No, no, no,
Affordable
that's,
housing.
ours,
So
but
one
that's in the spatial purpose fund for the housing, Affordable Housing Trust.
It is? Okay. So that's like, so this 3%, or what was the?
Well, if you, by extrapolation, that money was going half to wastewater and half to spatial purpose fund. So, you know, it means we got over about $3 million in
Okay,
from the short-term rental tax in the last year or so.
that's great.
And,
Not great for them, but,
that's the first time that number has been out.
I know.
and, and I think this month, maybe, Mary, maybe you know from your perspective, but I think it was this month or coming up shortly, we're going to get an update from the state of and so this will increase. So I was told this is probably a little less than what will be there. Maybe even now, I don't know, but this gives you where we're coming from.
What do you mean, the next round of receipts from the,
Right.
from the
From the
State.
state.
Probably, because you'd likely get some in before the end of the fiscal year.
Right. And so I'm told that shortly we'll get some, I could update it. This is what I have now.
Just stay on it until we get those funds.
So,
Stay on it.
Hold on, Robert, go ahead.
But you said something about you have to go to town meeting to officially get it done. Did
We
I miss
do.
something?
No, this has to be the transfer of the funds from the spatial purpose
Right.
funds to
That's
the
what
housing
it is.
trust, has to go to town meeting for, as an article and approved.
But is it in this year's, or because it didn't make the?
Didn't make it this year because of the last minute questions about we did the right process.
Okay. So we're looking at if there's
If there's a fall meeting, I'm
otherwise
promised.
a year from
I'm-
now.
If it's, right.
Okay.
If there's a fall meeting, I'm promised it will go there.
Okay,
But they'll have it sorted out by that time.
okay.
My only disappointment was that I didn't find out about this concern until, I think Dave, you and I talked about it maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
All set, Robert.
Thank you.
John?
So, it's clearer to me now than it was a couple minutes ago. but
I'm not explaining it very well, I'm sure.
Yes, you
I
are.
was lost there for a minute, but, so you give, in your report, you give a total of 2.7 million roughly, but that does not include any of this special purpose.
Does not include any of the spatial purpose.
And you're expecting some number like that, over $1 million every year to come from this?
I am.
Well, that's,
I don't see,
But isn't the amount that's in there now like the last 3 years?
right, I'm sorry, the last 3
Yeah,
years.
it's
So it'll be
over
like
3 years
300,000.
probably.
you said, well, I heard
I'm
you
sorry.
say over
I-
the last year or so.
I missed, no, thank you, Kathy, I misspoke.
So
Don't be
it's
that
more
every
like
year.
$500,000 a year,
Right.
or a little less.
$500,000 or a little less.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
No, I'm sorry. I was exaggerating it.
Okay, I actually have one other question, which is about the cell tower revenues. The numbers look a little all over the place, but that may be an artifact, but it's like the 2019 was 75,000, and it went up to well over 200,000 for several fiscal years, and then it's down now, but I assume that's just because that's partial year. But is this expected to be a consistent but perhaps ever-increasing sum of money? And these numbers here are not per year, so it's like half that, which is the annual for each
Yeah.
of these?
You raised that at a meeting, at one of my previous meetings here, and I raised that question, I haven't got it, I don't clearly understand it myself. You can see by reading this, there's some of these are combined, some are not, so it's not clear to me whether they're reporting it consistently from, the same time span each year, how that's put together, how they make that transfer. It's just,
It's nice to have that clear.
I'll ask again. I did raise that question, and I still haven't got that response.
Thank you.
In fairness, I did get a lot of information that we have now. Okay, on the funding, Mary?
So I suspect that the increase in the funding on the cell tower could be additional contracts, or could be negotiating a new cell tower lease. So the town might get multiples of those and solicitations for those throughout the course of a year. So there could be newer contracts that are prompting the additional money. And I'm guessing, Larry, that if you remember the opioid money, you had to go to town meeting every year and
Right.
put it in. I think the special purpose
did, yeah.
fund is the same thing. I think it's the same thing with the short-term rental. I think it doesn't go in automatically. It comes in on the cherry sheets, and then you've got to put it into a special purpose fund and then appropriate it out of the special
Yeah.
purpose fund. So I think that's why it's just.
No, yeah, and that part I
Sticky.
understood. What I didn't understand was the amount of detail we had to have in the article to make it go forward. I thought it'd be basically a cookie cutter thing, transfer the money over and get voted on. They didn't want some more specific language. But yeah.
There's been some changes, so. Okay.
Well, and, as I think, Mary, you suggested, they're just being they being the town administrator and treasurer, being very careful they follow all the regulations, and sometimes, forgive me, but the state's not so, are fairly rigid. So that's the funding, the expenditures. The primary change from when we met last time is that the money, last time we met, we'd approved, that we being the trust had approved $860,000 about for the Harwich Fire Station apartments. And half of that's been transferred to them. And so that's been expended, and the other half is, of that is committed. So
Encumbered?
is committed, encumbered would be the right term, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're holding that back. We have the $876,000, I think it was. We transferred half that to them immediately, and we're holding the other half for the future.
Okay. That seems like a lot of money to hold back.
Yeah,
Kathy?
So, when all is said and done, right now your trust balance is 1.2.
right.
We expect that once we have a town meeting, whether it's in the fall or next spring, and this thing gets resolved, we got another 1.4 coming in. Got 500,000 from this year, if that goes through. So, when all is said and done, going into next spring, there should be 3.1 million in the coffers of the Affordable Housing Trust.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep, that's correct. Okay.
Go ahead.
So Kathy, you gave the punchline on this. Our net right now is a little under $1.3 million. And I won't repeat what you said, but, so we have a reasonable nest egg to work on as we go forward. Let me just very briefly tell you what, and some of this will be repeating what I said last time, but we did finalize the action plan, and we're reviewing that probably every meeting to see that we're up to date on that. We do we voted on an RFP for 456 Queen Anne Road, and I'm told I have to be really careful not to ever mention the M word on that property. It's 456 Queen Anne Road. And as of today, I reviewed the lawyers have gone through the RFP that Laura Schofield put together and asked for a couple comments, which I gave back today. And so we're hoping that will go to their whatever they call their advertising list in a couple weeks. So it'll be out there, and we're hoping we get bids, obviously, and we're hoping we'll probably close it first part of June. So we're hoping we make a decision and start that work. We'll see. Yeah, I know Mary Smythe said that's a big unknown at the moment.
No.
Lauren, can I hold you there? Bruce is about to jump out of his chair.
Bruce, yeah.
No, Bruce Young, President of the Harwich Fire Association. We got $476,000 from the Affordable Housing Trust, $238,000 that was released right away. We have 10 steps we have to finish out before we can get the rest of that money. Rough electrical, rough plumbing, septic system, that's when we get the last of those increments. I just wanted that clear for the record.
Yeah,
Got it.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. So that's out there. We continue to support whatever, do that, Pine Oaks, of course. We still talk about rental assistance. You know, we came here and you had some questions, and so we didn't move forward. We've decided as a trust to move forward ourselves in probably somewhat smaller extent. We voted last meeting to start that with the trust money, $150,000. I'm convinced as the trust itself is that that's a great need. People need help on rental assistance, and so we want to get out there for two reasons. One is for that. The other one is that some of the questions you asked on rental assistance about what is the actual demand, some of those procedures we'll have some information on when we come back, hopefully for the fall meeting to expend that. From not to get too waylaid on this, we had some discussion on this, and the primary question that comes up on this was not the need and that type of stuff, but what happens when if we provide assistance for, as other towns have done, 3, 4, 5 years to do that. At some point it ends. What happens then? Do we kick them out of the house or the apartment that they have? And that's a discussion then on the RFP. We're working on the exact language of being sure that whoever we use to manage this program, quite frankly, there's only two organizations do that right now, is Housing Assistance Corporation and the Homeless Prevention Council. Do they provide enough assistance, they call case study support, to be sure that they're helping the renters get their financial life in order, if that's a concern, look at whatever they can do to help that. We not only give them temporary assistance now, but we move them into a place that they can afford, can get housing in the future. So that's the primary discussion. So that's what we're, Kathy?
Well, before you, have you made a decision on the 25% versus the 5%? The
No.
management fees?
We have not, and that's my inference. I didn't go there, but that's my inference, and we're working out very carefully word the RFP we go out with on the amount of support we expect. Because my understanding, and we'll learn more when we send the RFP, is that the Homeless Prevention Council, their fee was more like 28% to do that work, to do the supporting activity. And my understanding is they provide that in-house. They spend a lot of time with the renters, giving them, hand-holding and support. The Housing Assistance Corporation, we won't know exactly what their fee is until we go with an RFP, but based on what they've charged from other towns around us, it should be around 5%. And I think the biggest difference is that they don't provide that hand-holding themselves. What they do is they refer the renters to organizations that do that. They refer them to Hatch, they refer them to other organizations to get that support. And so, to answer your question, Dave, we don't know that. We're trying to be very careful how we word our RFP, knowing that that support is necessary.
Kathy first.
Yeah, I wasn't at the last meeting, and I know you were all disappointed, because, I would have had a ton
Definitely.
of questions, which I did, about this whole thing.
Yeah.
I actually went to the Homeless Prevention Council
Yeah.
and sat down with Hattie Ludley, who's the executive director.
Right.
And had a talk with her about this whole program.
Yeah.
And you are correct in that their whole emphasis is on case management.
Yeah.
They put a lot into it. There's a big difference between 5% and 25%. So I think it's worth investigating. She said that she would be happy to come and speak either before the Housing Trust or before our group with one of her caseworkers to explain what they do. And it might be, worth
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. She's been, I've talked to her by phone, and she's been tremendous. We're not used to this, I guess, but when I first started asking, I emailed, and I got a call back within hours, I think. And she went through in some detail of what they do on that, yes. And so we'll take her up on that when we, I think our immediate, we'll take her up on that.
Mary?
So I'm also wondering if Brianna can't, maybe as a part of her role, help bridge that gap between what a HAC or a CDP would do versus what the Homeless Prevention Council would do. So, it seems like that would be a valid role for your housing coordinator to be helping with, or whatever title we're using for it now, I'm not sure.
Not our job, Mary.
So I'm just saying,
No,
no,
and-
I'm saying, but from their perspective, when you're looking at it, I would, that would be
And
something I would consider, because you would like to think that that's something that if you've hired a housing coordinator, that that's what they're doing.
We're actually beyond considering, Brianna's taking on that role of talking to them and pulling that information together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All set, Mary.
all set.
Robert?
No questions.
John?
Nothing more, thank you.
The only other, I mentioned to John very briefly, we have been meeting with the Housing Committee. And we're working right now on a joint mission to have a, John corrected me, I was saying website, not a website. We'll use a town website, but a web page. We now have one on housing, affordable trust, but what we want is one on housing in general that has partly speaking to trust and partly speaking to housing in general, to become more of a resource for people in town. Not only, and then we also talked about communication. What can we do to better get the word out on the need of affordable housing? And I think I've taken more of my 5 minutes, Jan.
Okay,
But any other questions?
Any other board questions? Hearing none, thank you very much, sir. Okay, next. Harwich Natural Resource Department.
They emailed me, they had an emergency late today, and they aren't able to attend, so
Not a
I will
problem.
get them for next month.
Okay. Harwich Conservation Department.
Good evening. I have copies of what I sent electronically if you'd like them.
Thank you.
Amy Usowski, Conservation Administrator, here to talk about two outstanding articles for the Conservation Department. First being public access for the Hinckley's Pond remediation and public access project, of which we were granted $75,000. We have just about $70,000 left in the fund. Since I wrote my report to you, the plot thickens. I'm starting to think, that this was a lot, a bit much. So the last time I've talked to you, essentially the last few times I've talked to you, I've said I've really been hitting a block with the state, with Mass DCR, who owns the bike trail, which a large portion of this little park area that we're envisioning is DCR property. So over a year now, I've been trying to have communications with who I was directed to, the regional director and partnership director at DCR. The last I had heard was right around Christmas time from the director of partnership, who said, oh yeah, it's on the regional director's desk, he just needs to sign it. Okay. All this time since then, I've been trying to contact them, no answer. I did go to administration to request assistance for that. They immediately contacted State Representative Sarah Peak's office, and they contacted DCR. What I got literally today was something from DCR, from this gentleman named Zach Crowley, who just signs his name with a Z. There's no title, I don't know who this is. Sorry, I thought this was put to bed months ago. Our regional director and partnership director who were working on it have both transitioned on, which may explain the gaps in communications. It should be all set. The town should file for a construction access permit, and that should provoke any additional necessary conversations with us, and gave me directions for applying. Why I was never told this a long time ago, I don't know. Then I got an email saying, oh, here's some feedback that was supposed to be given to the town, but never reached the town. Before they file a construction access permit, here's some feedback. So essentially they have comments on what the base is supposed to be there. I had put either chips or gravel with an ADA access pathway, but they want the whole thing to be ADA access. Meaning stone dust or porous pavement. Cheaper alternative would be bituminous asphalt, which ideally I would not like to do. And we would still need to do the drainage. So I need to chat with some folks about what they would actually like to see there. They don't want that. They don't want the chips or the gravel as the base for this park because it has been an issue with areas on other trails that would likely end up in the path. I'm not sure if there's some sort of retainer that we could use that they would be happy with, but this, I got this at 3 o'clock today, so I don't know a whole lot more. They would prefer not to use gravel or chips on any path, shared path or access. They are not good with just the ADA compliant path. They would like all the amenities to be ADA accessible, which I would have planned for had that direction been clearly stated that we had to do that. I had been told we just needed to make an access point. And they want to work together with the town to develop a long-term memorandum of understanding over maintenance responsibilities. This can be set up during the construction access permit project. So, I had the Conservation Commission applications and the state applications ready to go. They need to be amended a little bit, and it appears that our site plan will need to be amended to make the entire area, minus the staircase, down to the water, ADA compliant. The state doesn't really have, basically the platform at the very top of the staircase is state land, but the pathway itself down is not, that's town property. So it'd be very difficult to, without putting a staircase across the entire banking, to probably make ADA compliance the entire way down. So I wanted to share this information with you.
I'm stunned at what you just said. I
Me
understand what it
too.
means. Kathy?
So, okay, so so just break it down for us in terms of, like, exactly what is the state part that's been holding up? Like, it's not the kiosk, or it's where the picnic tables go?
It's the use of their area. It's the use of
the entire thing?
The entire thing.
Okay, so most of what we were talking about then, when we set this money aside, comes under the jurisdiction of DCR.
Yes,
The only thing that doesn't is the path
right,
that goes down to the platform.
correct.
Okay, so this all sounds like it could cost more money
Mm-hmm.
in the end. So is there a way we can scale down the project and still have it move forward?
I think so. That was
I
something,
think that's where
again,
we need to go.
I learned this only a few hours ago myself, so I'm trying to digest it as well. We don't have to necessarily do a bike pavilion right now, or,
Right.
It would be nice to have a couple of picnic tables, those are pretty cheap.
Yeah.
As well as a bench for somebody who is handicapped to sit at the top of the
Yeah.
stairs. The town, the materials, we would have to pay for the wood, but the town could potentially build the stairs. So I think the large portion was the bike pavilion. So the first thing in my mind to get rid of right now is the bike pavilion. I don't think we can get rid of the stormwater. Stormwater is a major issue that goes down that hillside right there. And if you're gonna be augmenting that surface in any way, right now it's really broken up bituminous asphalt. So something has to be done, and the drainage has to be corrected.
Robert?
No questions.
John?
I don't think I have any other questions. It's all a little to digest, but
Mary?
So I have a stupid question, and I just think it's a conversation. I understand that they don't want gravel because they're afraid it will come into the pathway, right? I get that. But there's all sorts of gravel glue now that you spray on the gravel and it stays in place, like it's almost like it's mortar. I wonder if that would be,
And that's not permeable.
But it's also not ADA compliant likely, and they said they don't want gravel because they don't want it in the path, but then they go on to say, well, we want the whole thing to be ADA compliant. So I just kind of was like, okay, it's either gotta be porous pavers, or permeable asphalt,
yeah.
regular asphalt, or hardening.
I've seen it with pea stone, so that's why I
Yeah.
say it, that, it's smooth. But 5 years? 5 years for the state on that? That's great.
It's just, I mean, the progression, 2018, we got the money, did the treatment of Skinnequit Pond, or not Skinnequit,
Hinkley's.
sorry, Hinkley Pond.
Yeah.
In 2019. Supposed to have, engineering had started internally when we had those services. They left, pandemic hit, couldn't get services for a while. Finally was able to use an outside service got that, have had that for over a year now. Followed the direction that I was told to go in when I contacted DCR, who I should be in touch with. And it's been a year and a half of, and then all of a sudden this, so I need, I don't even know what I want to do at this point.
Kathy?
Yeah, I mean, I am still determined to provide some public access there. I think that was our sticking point back then, and I think that we still want it. We don't
We
want to
do.
like collapse on this whole thing.
No.
So, in my mind, I would like Amy to take a look at, you know, scaling down the project so that we can accommodate this kinds of things, and then come back to us with that, and then move forward. What we can do to get this done.
Will you define public access for me?
Well, right now,
Do you want it from the top of the top area to the water?
I wasn't,
Because that's the stairway, but then it has to be ADA compliant.
right.
So now you're a
we-
period of
We did want
switchbacks.
people to be able to have access to the water, because it was a treacherous
Yeah.
path
Mhm.
right now,
Right.
with lots of roots and stuff, and then you're on the shoreline, boom. So, which could lead to the degradation of the shoreline, because it's, you know, minimal. So, yeah, we did want to have a viewing platform. I didn't care about the bike kiosk myself, but, you know, that was part of this thing.
But it also makes sense next to bike path to
Yeah,
have a
of
bike
course,
kiosk.
yeah.
you know.
Hold on.
So, can I clarify
on.
something really quick?
John, go ahead.
Well, maybe it's the same point. I think I heard you say the access to the water from the bike path elevation is on town land, and there is no need as far as to satisfy the state's desire for ADA access from the state land to the edge of water. Is that correct?
Correct.
Oh,
So,
okay.
right now, where the, and there's, we can't get around this, where the platform would be at the top of the banking, that is on state land, just the platform, maybe a first step. The rest of the stairs going down would be on town land, so it's a matter if state, that could be that could be your platform there, it could be large enough at the top for ADA access. The staircase down, though I would love to do it, it doesn't make sense to do it, and, because once you get down there, it's not accessible either. So the staircase down is just like any other set of pond access stairs. You do the best you possibly can to be as safe as you can to get down. And that is what we have plans for, is basically a set of stairs that has a platform in the middle. It breaks up the continuous slope down, essentially.
So you can put an oxygen bottle in each one of the levels.
So the bare minimum, I mean, what we could do, I would love to see the drainage improvements still happen. Do we have to do anything really to the old pavement, other than somehow, you know, put in some catch basins potentially and improve the drainage? Maybe not. Maybe focus the money on the staircase. I can see how next week, I can look at, you know, talk to the engineer, talk about redoing this, see what costs might be, you know, get new costs essentially for the services. But I wish I had more answers for you tonight, but I don't. But I do think we will have to scale down a little bit, so.
Robert?
So, just to clarify, the state, they made that comment that they would prefer to have you have access, handicap access, all the way to the water?
No, just up, the way they said it, it's really just up the top, on their property.
On their property?
On their
Oh,
property, they want ADA access. It's, this bullet, they said, Harwich is stating they will provide one ADA compliant path. They're calling it to the viewing
view.
bench.
Okay.
This is helpful, but all amenities, including picnic tables, water fountains, should be accessible. The water bubbler is already in from the water department. I don't know if it's accessible or not, but that's
Okay,
already in.
Okay.
That's for
So-
the bikes, yeah.
So is the idea to get them from the path, ADA accessible, to the top, to the viewing platform?
Yes, yep,
And just to have them be on the viewing platform, not to provide access to the pond
for people with
for people with
yes,
disabilities?
for the general public, yes.
Yes, okay, okay.
Because it's such a steep slope, people are going down it anyways.
Yeah.
They're eroding it, and it's full of poison ivy.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Anything else from the board?
Okay, next one. Restoration and rehabilitation of town-owned conservation lands, of which we were given $20,000. We still have $12,735 in the account. We do need to purchase new signage this year for a few entrances to conservation areas. These are not the traditional rules and regulation signs that we've already purchased and installed. These are like the Texera conservation lands. The sign fell down, it's in terrible shape. We can't reuse it. So those are about anticipated cost about $1,500 for a nice big professional sign for our conservation area like that. We also do need some more additional heavy-duty fencing that we've purchased several hundred feet of and used. It's being very useful in keeping people or vehicles like ATVs out of where we don't want them in the conservation areas. It's much better than traditional split rail fencing. With the remainder, I forgot to put this in here, the Conservation Commission still needs to have discussions about a gate for the Bell's Neck Conservation Lands and dealing with herring. But another use for the remainder in the Bell's Neck, as that was a parcel that, parcels of that were used, CPC funding was used. There is a small stand of invasive Phragmites in the fallow bogs there. The cost to remove or treat that would be higher than this, but this could assist with that as well. But I think a main focus the Conservation Commission is going to be discussing whether or not, is going to be discussing the management of that conservation area period and whether a gate at the depot entrance would be a necessity going forward. So I hope to have the remainder of this used within the next 6 months to a year.
Okay, to the board. John?
No,
All set. Robin?
I'm good.
Kathy?
Yeah, I think that the committee would like to see the money used in this fiscal year.
Sure.
You know, in the
Yep,
next 6
I
months.
get it.
Be done with it.
I would like to do as well.
Mary?
No comments from me.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay, next, Harwich Conservation Trust.
Not. Later. What?
Sir, you have the floor. Please identify yourself.
Good evening. I'm Michael Locke, Executive Director of the nonprofit Harwich Conservation Trust. Thank you, members of the Community Preservation Committee, for your support on so many projects that provide so many different community benefits. And I'll provide an update on 3 articles. I'm going to group the first 2 in a set of comments, and those pertain to Town Meeting 2021, Article 34 for Harwich Natural Heritage Trail Phase 1, and Town Meeting 2022, Article 34, also Harwich Natural Heritage Trail Phase 2. So these are part of the Colebrook Eco Restoration Project. These 2 articles focus on Community Preservation Act recreation funding to first, the 2021 article, help with the design, permitting, and construction of a half-mile wheelchair accessible trail loop. I'm glad to say that construction is complete on the stream crossings over Colebrook, which now is flowing freely for the first time in over 100 years. Just context for people tuning in, this is part of the overall eco restoration project of which the town is a partner through a separate warrant article contributing $2 million towards the eco restoration based on town consultants' report that doing so would naturally reduce the nitrogen in the groundwater and the surface water of Cold Brook as it flows to Saquatucket Harbor, and save taxpayers an estimated $6 million by reducing the need for sewer infrastructure in the watershed to Saquatucket Harbor. The second article, the boardwalk, approximately 100-foot boardwalk, is also constructed. Some of the members of the committee were able to join a site visit yesterday to see the results. There's still construction on the half-mile wheelchair accessible trail loop that needs to happen in terms of installing stabilized stone dust, which is Americans with Disability Act compatible. And then after that's completed, probably this month into May, depending on temperature, we'll spend down the less than 20% remaining in that Article 34 from 2021. All of the funds have been spent now for 2022 Article 34, the 100-foot boardwalk. It's pretty exciting. Folks can catch a glimpse of the activity from Bank Street. Trails are closed now and will be through the summer because there's still construction happening for the Eco Restoration Project. And then with our partner, the nonprofit Harwich Fire Association, as we assemble funding, we will complete the construction of the parking area at 203 Bank Street, which is also going to include the wheelchair accessible trailhead and scenic overlook. And then we hope to reopen the trails in the fall. So I'm glad to take any questions.
Okay. Mary?
So no questions for me. I'm thrilled that it's going along as well as it is, and I really hope that taxpayers are listening to your presentation tonight, because there's been a lot of negativity on some of the social media pages about what's going on Bank Street and you know, the destruction of the bogs, which we know you're doing a restoration project. So I was actually surprised at how long some of those negative comments went on, considering you've been before us since, you know, what, 4 years now, 5 years now, pushing. So hoping people are tuning in, because it looks like it's coming along fantastically. So
Yeah, I think folks will really be surprised and enthusiastic when everything greens up in the next couple
Absolutely.
of months as well.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you for the update.
sure.
All set, Mary.
All set for me.
John?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I had the pleasure of visiting the project sometime last fall, when the destruction was just getting underway. Sorry to put it that
Restoration.
way. The
Yes.
restoration, but it was in the preparation phase. And then a couple of weeks ago, also had the opportunity to go and walk through, and I was just, it was stunning, the progress that had been made. And just looking at the pictures in your report, there's been even more progress since I saw it a couple of weeks ago. So, and I guess it was you have photos of bridge going in,
Yes.
bridge sections, which weren't there. And I think it's great. I'm amazed at how much work has been done in the last 6 months. And I was amazed at your projection that the thing would be done this year, but having seen the progress that you've already made, clearly you're well on the way. So it looks great to me. I don't have any
Set, Joe.
questions.
All set, sir. Robin?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to go yesterday and was totally overwhelmed at what's being done, and just totally amazed, and to see the 4 new ponds. It was really exciting, and the bridge, particularly the long one there, was just, the way it's built is fantastic. It should last a long, long time, and it's just gorgeous. That's it for me.
Thank you, Robert. Kathy?
Yeah, I had the opportunity yesterday to walk also the grounds, and it's messy. It's a big mess. But you can see the potential there, you can see what's gonna happen, and I think that the people that are working and the groups that they've been bringing in are passionate about it, they're dedicated. And I will say, when Mike presented the boardwalk thing, I had a lot of questions about the boardwalk. Remember, I broke it down by foot, how much it was gonna cost us. But I will say that the boardwalk itself was very impressive in terms of the materials, the sturdiness of it, and they really look 100 times better than I thought they would look. So I think overall, it's moving along. Great, congratulations.
As I said to you earlier, the documents you sent were comprehensive, almost up there with Habitat. I was very impressed. I want to thank you for that information.
Well, thank you all very much, and know that your support and town meeting voter support is really part of a larger partnership and has helped attract other funding, including a grant from the state's Mass Trails program. There's also funding from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, so there we have both state and federal grant funding. There's also donors, members of Harwich Conservation Trust that support this public access project. So it's a great, we're all part of a great team that's doing great things right there in the heart of Harwich Port. So thank you all for your support.
Okay?
So the last article from town meeting 2023, Article 24, that particular article was found to be deficient by town council in terms of the way it was structured. The background on that article is that it was authorizing $125,000 in Community Preservation Act open space funds for a town conservation commission conservation restriction to be acquired over roughly 2.87 acre property that has over 780 feet of frontage on Bells Neck Road. Bells Neck Road extending north from Route 28 into Bells Neck conservation lands. So a scenic road, and also important because the land is right within the Herring River watershed. The distribution of those funds for the conservation restriction is on hold until this article gets corrected at the upcoming May 6th town meeting. And that article has been added to the warrant as Article 23 will be the revised article in the upcoming May 6th town meeting warrant. So we expect that article to pass, and then we can move forward with the conveyance of the conservation restriction.
Michael, was that done by your own attorneys or KP Law?
That's KP Law in terms of the original article in 2023. And then what we provided at Harwich Conservation Trust was suggested language to correct that article. KP Law has now created an article for the upcoming May 6th town meeting warrant.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mary?
Just to clarify, I think we provided Michael's draft of the correction to administration that was forwarded to KP Law before those articles kind of were written, and before the last meeting that we had about it.
Okay. All set, Mary?
Yeah, all set.
Kathy?
So,
Robert?
I'm all set.
John?
All set, thank you.
Great. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Okay, next, discussion on the town meeting annual.
Thank you, everybody, for your copies.
Thanks
I
a lot.
really appreciate it.
For all your support.
Thank you. There's a motions meeting tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the library. So anybody from the board who wants to attend.
what is the motions meeting?
It's where they sit down with the attorney.
So under the Harwich-
Go
Under
ahead.
the Harwich Charter, the Finance Committee is responsible for presenting a positive motion for each of the articles on town meeting floor. So those motions don't get printed in the warrant. They're typically worked on afterwards, and those motions are really what drive the final content of the article. So they'll go over those motions typically in a separate meeting with the moderator and others.
So will they change language?
So I don't know that it's, so really it's your motion and your action is what creates the whole thing. So like a motion can amend an article. So a motion can amend the language of an article, but I don't think that's really the goal tomorrow. It's really to just make sure that there are positive motions that are, I don't know if council's going, but typically council will sit in and verify that the motions,
When you say positive motion, who's making the positive motion?
under the Harwich Charter, it's typically FinCom. So FinCom is charged with making a positive motion on the articles, and then if there isn't a positive motion from FinCom, then somebody else from the floor can make it.
Right.
Okay.
So like if FinCom doesn't make one, a Harwich voter could get up and say, I move that we approve Article 23 as printed in the warrant.
I've got a copy of the warrant. It's online, you can go in and look at, and there's no FinCom
Yeah, they don't do the motion, they do the motions.
recommendations on it. Everything's blank, so.
Okay, so is the motions sort of book or whatever
Yeah.
produced more important than the?
I would say it's equally as important.
Equally as
So
important.
like, when you're doing a budget, the motion can include funding sources that aren't like readily apparent. Like it might include funding sources from free cash or funding sources from something else, to get your, to get your bottom line. The motion might, like I said, somebody during a pre-town meeting might decide that the language wasn't quite right and they need to tweak something, so the positive motion will be, I move to approve Article 23 with the following amendment, blah, 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 as mentioned in the warrant, and then it'll tweak it and fix it, but, I mean, they're two halves of a whole, I guess.
So, just in terms of input from this particular committee, do we review the motions book or the warrant articles before the town meeting, in which we have another 2 weeks?
So typically you'd be reviewing the articles, which I think some of it has already been done. Right, and then.
They're written the way that we.
Right, and then the motions, typically the motions are kind of staff and FinCom when they're
Okay, but
prepping for the
I
meeting.
guess my question is, do we need to look at anything before town meeting, so there are no surprises?
I don't know who's giving I don't know whether they're expecting this board to give the positive motion on the CPA articles, or,
I have no idea.
those would be the only things I'd worry about, right, so.
So my next question is, can any one of you attend that motions meeting?
Unfortunately, no.
You'll-
What time? You said
It's
tomorrow?
11 o'clock.
10?
11.
11.
Sorry.
What would our presence there do?
Really not much, to be honest. No, I mean that in the nicest way, like it's.
Yeah, that's.
It's a
what
motion, and the motion is what it is. If you have a question on it, or if you don't, I don't think these motions are gonna be anything more than, for the CPA articles, I can't imagine that they're anything more than, I move Article 23 as printed in the warrant. I don't think they're gonna be anything more than that. It might be budget articles that would have something a little bit more, because they're dealing with funding sources, and ours really are there.
Ready to go and sit through this potentially exciting meeting.
Our articles start with 23.
Okay, thank
So-
you.
John?
When is the motions book available? Just at town meeting and not
Usually.
before?
Usually,
It was handed out when you arrived, I think.
usually.
Well, if I'm not doing anything else, I'll go.
You're more than welcome to attend. You're a member of this board, if you guys want to attend.
I have another commitment at 11 o'clock
Yeah, I do too.
tomorrow, so.
Well, I think it would need to post it if you're gonna deliberate, if you have a quorum and you're gonna deliberate
We
about
will.
it.
We barely have a quorum tonight.
Oh, that's true.
Yes.
There is that, you're correct.
So,
Yeah, I won't be there,
Where
sorry.
is it? In the library?
in the library.
Upstairs.
Where in the library?
Upstairs. No, the room outside of administration is called the Town Hall Library.
Oh, here, I thought you
Yeah.
said it was in the library.
It is, that's the library
I'll be
room.
at the library at 11 o'clock tomorrow, looking for the meeting.
No, the room upstairs is called the Town Hall Library.
It's downstairs.
Okay,
You're on.
sorry,
We're on the
sorry,
second
sorry.
Correct, it's downstairs from us, but it's on the same level as administration.
Right,
Okay,
yeah,
I
but
know
not
what it is. I
At the
know
clerk's
what it is.
office, it's
Okay.
upstairs.
Correct,
You were-
correct.
yes. It's not a
It's in
big
the
room.
library room, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay,
The library room in Town Hall.
yes,
Yes.
got it. Got it.
Okay.
So, next thing would be, any comments about town meeting? Go ahead, Kathy.
Is Jan gonna send out a notice to all the applicants to ask them to be there so that they can,
Advocate for their projects.
right, and since it'll be the first night, since we're in the 20s, that's pretty good, usually we're at the back of the pack.
Unfortunately, I am making every effort to attend, but I'm not sure that it's gonna happen. So,
Just an email.
Any other thoughts?
I think,
Gentlemen,
just a reminder that we need to post a meeting
Oh.
for
go ahead,
town meeting.
Kathy.
I will say that HCT already sent out to their entire email list, asking their members to attend town meeting and to vote yes on articles such, like 5 different articles. Which is a great source for us.
Mhm.
Did,
You did bring up a good point, though. Should we schedule a day before meeting in case we need it?
I think we
Any
schedule a
reason?
meeting, I think we schedule a meeting for the night of town meeting, so that if we
So-
need to meet, we can deliberate.
Okay,
And you can usually start it, I think we usually post them for the hour before.
yeah,
So then we meet, we convene, and then we
got it.
suspend to go into town meeting. But then if something comes up, you can meet. Planning board always has to do it, in case a question comes up on a zoning matter or something like that.
Okay.
So you won't be able to attend this meeting that we're scheduling?
Probably not, but she wants to make sure we have it.
Probably not, but I want to make sure you comply with the open meeting law. So,
What time
all
do
right,
you want
I
this
wanna,
meeting?
I wanna correct the time for, 1 second, please. Want to correct the time for downstairs. It's 4/12/24, 11:30 to 12:30.
he just gave you an extra half an hour in the morning, Kathy.
Not only am I gonna be at the library.
Right, you're going to be there early,
Time.
but it would have given you time to come over and still make
Got
it.
I would've
I'm
been-
sorry, it's
Really?
it's not the library, it's the select board library at Town Hall.
Is that the same room?
Same
Yes.
room.
Okay.
Yes, they apparently,
Never heard that.
me neither.
I never heard that either, so.
Okay. All right,
So-
now that we've got that clarified.
John, you all set with that?
On May
He
6th.
can't go.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So what we're asking Jan to do is set up a meeting, or at least
Just post a
file
meeting,
Just
for,
post.
at 6 o'clock on May,
Fi-
whatever.
May 6th.
May 6th.
It's a wonderful day.
What time is it, 5 o'clock or 6?
What time is town
Town
meeting
meeting.
start?
Town meeting's at 7, correct?
I think so.
Yes.
It's usually at 7.
Is
That's
it?
why I would post it for 6, so that you,
6 PM, and I'll pick a room inside the community center.
correct.
Visitor center. So I'll go down there and do that.
I'll try.
Good question.
Go ahead.
Who's gonna be at this meeting tomorrow? Finance committee?
Finance, well, yeah, probably the rep, town administrator, one of the selectmen,
Town moderator,
town
town clerk.
moderator. Yeah, he'll be running the, John Giorgio will be there.
It's what I mean, it's usually like a,
It's a quick,
it's like a tabletop.
I went to, the initial ones I went to, it was a quick turnaround,
Okay.
so.
an hour isn't much time.
Right.
So you can't spend much time on any of it.
Right. I think it's just for the moderator to get set to what's gonna happen, but. Okay. Anything else? Anything on the next agenda? And that agenda time is our next meeting?
The 9th, that same week.
Yep.
Oh,
That's the question.
And at this point, we have two update status reports, Penrose and Natural Resources, that weren't able to make it tonight. They are to come the next meeting, which would be May.
How many articles on town meeting? I mean, we never go less than two nights, so.
right.
So you're gonna
I
go,
didn't take the number.
you're gonna go Monday, Tuesday, and then come back Thursday. Or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That could be fun. I have a feeling I've done that before.
So what's the pleasure of the board?
You mean whether to have a meeting or not?
Yeah.
Well, I think since it's a scheduled meeting, we should have it
Yeah.
and make it a quick one. We don't have that much on
Okay.
the agenda, we make it a quick meeting.
All right.
I concur.
So we're all set? Okay, that's it. Anything else from the board? I'll take a motion.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, folks.